In this short video on leadership, we want to talk about some of the general issues associated with the study of leadership. Just some general points that are not adequately dealt with in the other videos. First of all, there are many different definitions of leadership, and other videos have emphasized those and have given you lists of different definitions. And these are reflections of the different approaches taken by the different researchers. Uckel in 2002 suggested that most definitions reflect the assumption that leadership involves a process whereby intentional influence is exerted by one person over other people to guide, structure, and facilitate activities and relationships in a group or organization. When that bubbles down, it just comes down to the fact that leadership is seen as a process whereby one person exerts influence over other people, and usually for the purpose of achieving some goal or some objective. Now, the definitions that have arisen in other classes, and there have been many definitions of leadership that we've encountered in different classes. These are probably a reflection of the different backgrounds of the researchers and the inclination of the researcher. Depends on where the researcher is coming from. The management theorist, the sociologist, the psychologist, the economist, all of these people will have different perspectives of leadership, different ideas about leadership. So it's not surprising that we have lots of definitions of leadership. But really, it bubbled down to the definition I had a few moments ago. It's when one person has influence over a group of people for the purpose of achieving some objective. Of course, to the sociologist, this would have social implications. To the economist, it may bubble down to efficiency or something to do with resource allocation. The psychologist may emphasize personality issues and how power and personality are linked, and so on and so on. So it depends critically on who's doing the research and who's making the definition. So it's not surprising we have lots of definitions. This definition is entrepreneurial leadership can be defined as an ability to anticipate, envision, maintain flexibility, think strategically, and work with others to initiate change that will create a viable future for the organization. Yet another definition. And Tichy and Cohen, 1998, said that leadership is more about thinking, judging, acting, and motivating than about strategies, methodologies, and tools. So they suggest the previous definition lacks the emotional nature of leadership. So you can see the previous definition, I'll go back to it for a second, that looked pretty good. That looked like a nice definition. But then when you think about it, it does lack the emotional nature of leadership. And there is an emotional component. There is also an ethical component that should be taken into account. And the leader's ethics must be broadly in line with the ethics of the group, the organization, the society, the country. So it's not surprising we have a lot of definitions. We just saw one definition as an illustration in this class, and as soon as it's put up, there is a criticism that it's left out something. Now, what's the difference between leadership and management? And again, this is dealt with in different videos. Levecki, 1998, explains that managers need to be team players and coordinators of others, whereas leaders have to balance stakeholders' interest and be visionaries and judges. Let's think about that. Managers need to be team players and coordinators of others. That's what the manager does. Whereas leaders have a wider remit. They have to look at stakeholders' interest and be visionaries. They have to know where they're going into the future and judge what's needed and what's not needed and how to do it, how to plan out the course to achieve the target or the objective that's perhaps stated in the strategy for the business. So rather than managing people towards a result, leaders manipulate the whole set of resources. So managers manage people to try and achieve a result. Leaders, they look at everything. They look at the resource, the people resource, because that is a resource. But they also look at the resources, the financial resources of the business, the capital structure of the business, the market. They look at a lot of factors. They're not just looking at people. Managers look at people, leaders look at the whole set of resources, according to this view. And it's a very cogent argument. It's one that we can subscribe to. Mullins makes the point that leadership is not limited to any one part of the hierarchical structure of the organization. Management tends to be limited to the department. A different department will have a different manager. Leadership cuts across all the departments. It cuts across the whole division or the whole organization. Whereas management tends to be focused on particular issues within particular departments. So there's yet another element to what we were saying earlier. And Levesque again in 1998 sees effective leadership at all levels in the organization. So leadership can be within the department as well. The manager could be a leader, but the manager tends to concentrate on people, getting the people and the capital within that department working efficiently to produce an output. They're leaders in the sense that they are able to resolve conflict and able to maintain the flow of output. If you like, leadership in the purest form would be one that sets out a vision for the future and leads the organization to that vision. Cotter suggested that leading and management are separate. He suggested that they are actually mutually exclusive, totally separate things. There's no way of sorting complex individuals into extreme stereotypes. Cotter's idea that they are mutually exclusive, well, it's a nice comment. It's an easily understandable comment. There is one set called managers, and there is a totally different set called leaders. But in truth, they overlap. In truth, some managers could be leaders and some leaders could be managers. There's no earthly reason as to why not. So the extreme stereotyping is not really that valid. There is inevitably some overlap in the types of people who manage and the types that lead. So those are some ideas about leadership, why we got different definitions, and also the distinction between management and leadership. They're dealt with more fully in other videos in the series, but nonetheless, this is an easy time just to run across some of the ideas and perhaps reinforce what appears elsewhere. So that concludes this video. So thank you for watching.